This is the first story I'm telling here. Real stories, real lives. If it speaks to you, subscribe, follow, and stay with me. My brother Igor Knyazev was born in 1959 in Kyiv, in the Podol district. If you know that area, you already understand something about my brother. If you don't, just know this. It wasn't an easy place to grow up. Igor was our father's first son. My father left his mom before he was even born. For the first few years, he still came around. He taught Igor how to draw, how to ride a bicycle, but he was really hard on him, harder than he ever was on us. And then, around the age of 6, that all stopped. He just stopped visiting. That's when our father met our mom, and for a while Igor was no longer part of that world. For years he didn't see him at all, leaving him to the wolves. The courtyard he grew up in Podol, was full of criminals, bandits. Many were family from his mother's side. His grandfather and his uncles were all criminals. That wasn't something he found later in life. That was his environment from the beginning. He still went to school, but as a teenager, you were supposed to follow a system, learn what they wanted you to learn. But there was another world, a quieter world. There were things you weren't supposed to have. Western genes, music, foreign things. There were two paths. One was structured, the other, it was real. Igor didn't just survive in those worlds, he trained. He was a boxer like our dad, lifted weights. He became a master of sport in boxing and a candidate master in weightlifting. That took discipline. It took structure, control, which means, for a time, he was inside the system. And at the same time, he was already moving outside of it. When Igor was a teenager, he would ride his bike to our apartment in Bereznyaki. Sometimes he stayed, sleeping over for nights at a time. He really loved our mom, who treated him like a son. And my brother Alex loved when he came over. They'd sit on the floor, playing with toy cars for hours, talking, laughing. He was a great older brother. Igor played the violin and carried it everywhere. But his violin was different. His was covered in automotive drawings and tons of stickers. That's the one thing I'm glad we inherited from our dad, the love of cars. And then one day, he just stopped coming around. This was around 1978, the year I was born. Mom says that by then, he was already deep in the criminal world. 2 years later, in 1980, Igor went to prison. Soviet prisons in the 80s weren't just punishment. They were structure, hierarchy. You either broke or you adapted. He adapted. Inside, there were rules, unwritten, but very real. And if you understood them, you didn't just survive, you moved differently in that world. He built connections in there, a reputation. And when he came out, in 1988, he wasn't starting from zero. He was already part of something. By then, his path was set. In the late 1980s, the Soviet Union was starting to crack, and people like my brother knew exactly how to move in that kind of chaos. The timing mattered, because that was the exact moment racketeering was starting to form across Ukraine. The system was breaking, and the world he already understood was taking over. He didn't come out into chaos, he came out ready for it. In Podol, he started bringing groups together. Not one gang, several groups. People like the Strebkov brothers, Trofim, names that meant something in Podol. Each group had its own people, its own structure, but they all answered in one direction. There was a shared fund, an obszczak. Everything flowed into it, and my brother controlled it. Not everything was centralized. Each group moved on its own, but the structure above them was his. They started expanding. Podol first, small cooperatives, markets, Zhitny market. Then further out, businesses along Kreshchatik, down toward Podol. The river station, tour boats, parts of the river port. And then the highways, because that's where the real money was. Obukov Highway, Kiev to Uzhgorod. At that time, almost everything coming in was illegal. Foreign goods, contraband. So whoever controlled the roads controlled the flow. And he understood that early. He was physically imposing, a fighter, strong, trained, and he knew how to use it. Everyone knew who he was. In Podol, businessmen didn't argue. They understood. If his men got pulled over, they showed his picture, and the conversation ended. There was a certain pressure that didn't need to be explained. If you felt it, you already knew. But there was another side to that world. My brother started using heroin. We didn't know anything about that at the time. When we spoke to him on the phone, he was calm, present. He sent us pictures, videos of his lavish lifestyle. He talked normally. He was our big brother. And you wouldn't think there was anything underneath that. But there was. And that's the part about that life you don't always see.
Streets talk, but only real ones listen. Listen, Kingpin code, written in blood, homie. If you know, you know, that's the code we breathe. Move silent in the shadows where the wolves don't sleep. Trust none, stay low, keep your mind on the streets. We don't talk, we don't fold, that's the code, that's the creed. If you know, you know, ain't no secrets to keep. I don't read the game, and the game read me. Blood on the pavement, loyalty ain't cheap. If you know, you know, Kingpin code runs in go. Came up from the gutter where the steel don't jam. Wear a handshake, fake is the badge on the man. Learn young, don't ever let them know your next plan. Cause a smile turns snake quicker than you understand. Night shifts with the black boys, pockets full of sin. Shootouts echo loud like a choir in the wind. Undercover in the alleys trying to cage where we live. But the hood taught me just make a move, never give. Mama warned me, son, these streets raise ghosts. And every friend that I lost still harmed me the most. From betrayal to funerals, heartbreak, coast to coast. But I survived every storm, I ain't bragging, that's growth. If you know, you know, that's the code we breathe. Move silent in the shadows where the wolves don't sleep. Trust none, stay low, keep your mind on the streets. We don't talk, we don't fold, that's the code, that's the code. If you know, you know, ain't no secrets to keep. I don't read the game, and the game read me. Blood on the pavement, loyalty ain't cheap. If you know, you know, Kingpin code runs deep. Cruising through the hood with the smoke in the air. Low fade coast stare, yeah, I'm fully aware. Everybody play roles, but the truth ain't fair. And the code never breaks, if it breaks, you ain't there.